Hello! It's a warm Saturday. Should probably do some work on the car. I want to prep the engine bay for painting and sand off all the loose rust, vac tan it, primer it, ready for a top coat. However, there's a problem with that in that the car is quite a long way away. See, the car is down there, but I would quite like to use power tools in the paint removal and rust removal process, which means getting a power cable down there, and it's quite an ordeal. I shall show you. So firstly, you need to have your extension cables ready. I used two, this extending rail garden one and this exceptionally long single plug one. It's probably older than me. And secondly, you need your patented cable hoisting device, right? So that should be all we need. Let's get started. So the actual principle is fairly straightforward. What you do is you take your patented device like this, which I've weighted on one end with this AV connector of some sort, and you lob it out the window, taking care not to bray any pedestrians. I want to keep hold of this end. That is now on the floor, and we hook it up here. Now we take our extension cables downstairs. There's a cat battle going on. Highly uninteresting. Extension cables on the street, unfurled. Now we tie this plug end to my weighted hoisting device. Ta-da! Right, back upstairs. Right, so now what we do is we carefully hoist the extension cable upstairs. Now, a fairly important part of this is making sure not to clout out any of the neighbours' windows, which they don't take kindly to. I've never done it, but I can't imagine that they'd be very impressed. Right, first plug. Now I plug this into the wall socket behind the bed, which you can't see. And there you have it, and I have power at street level. Joys. Right, now I just need to take all the tools downstairs. Bloody hell. Oh, do you ever wish you hadn't started a job? Because I certainly do. Yes, that subframe mount, if it'll focus in this light, that subframe mount is what we call in the business totally fucking fucked, mate. Oh dearie me indeed. Right, so this here is the same box section that's all rotten on the underside. That's the top bolt for the subframe mount, so I'm just going to set out this with a wire wheel and see how bad it is. It could be worse on the top side, I suppose, couldn't it? I hate grinders. They fucking shit me up. Fucking lethal things, but a necessary evil, I'm afraid. Especially these knotted wheels, because they stick beyond the guard, so you just end up with faces full of bits of wire and metal and all sorts of shit. Quite unpleasant, it has to be said. I don't want to... Oh, my back! Today is not a great day, it has to be said. Oh dearie dearie me. Oh dearie 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 me. Bollocks. It's actually not too bad inside, but this area here was all just coated in shit. And once there's a hole and crap gets in there, it doesn't get back out. Ugh. The bastards just rotted away. This is, yeah, it was like that. It was like that when I bought the car. Let's just not worry about that. All the fillers falling out. Right, so I think that's where I'm going to end play with this today. It's pretty grotty, to be honest. I could probably patch that, make up a new front panel and patch that bit on the end, but it's only ever going to be a temporary thing, because well, you can see it's kind of started to go rusty along that bottom edge. I can't put a hole in it, but it is crusty. The top side, quite good. Look at that original red factory primer, that's quite impressive. But yes, in order to fix that I need welding equipment, which I do not currently have, so I shall need to acquire some. Oh, on the top side, it's not actually too terrible. This is underneath the battery, so it tends to get acided, as evidenced here. But little wire brush and vac tan back, I think. This was supposed to be today's job, and then when I sat down next to the car, I saw loads of horrible rust on that seam there, and poking started and bad things then transpired to happen. This is one of those things about running 40-year-old British engineering, I suppose. Oh bloody hell, it's a lot of work to do on this car. It still doesn't even have a fucking engine. So the other side is also quite bad. I haven't actually used any tools on this yet, I've just been pulling it by hand. Scraper gun. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yes, well that was an unfortunate discovery. It would appear that the car is, to use a technical term, a wee bit fucked. So now I'm gonna have a shower, a cup of tea, and a look at welders for sale, I suppose. Joys! Right, so I also want to take this heater blower motor off, just to try and tidy that up a bit. Shouldn't, in theory, shouldn't be too difficult. It's just 3 bolts. I believe the nuts on the back are captive. Yeah, they are. I always like it when a captive nut still is. There we go. Yes, well that was an unfortunate discovery. It would appear that the car is, to use a technical term, a wee bit fucked. So now I'm gonna have a shower, a cup of tea, and a look at welders for sale, I suppose. Joys! Right, so this is a very, very brief look at the heater blower motor off the Dolomite. Essentially, this is the motor, and this is so it mounts on the car onto the bulkhead like so, sucks air in through that rotor, blows it out through this big tube. The motor held in place by 3 screws, which I've removed. We also have 2 cables. They plug in either side of it, like that or something. Oh, I can't see where the holes are. To give the motor power. With those unplugged and this unscrewed it just left side. Nothing really much to it, just a small electric motor. On the shroud, we have this lever here. Now on my car this was completely seized solid and would not move. It was stuck in that position, and you can see here the cable had snapped. This was also completely seized solid. And what this does is opens a flap inside there to stop heat, or stop driven air from going into the cabin. These are the connectors to go into the loom for the motor, and this is the ballast resistor. Now I have heard a tale of these getting quite hot and setting on fire, and indeed in the case of my car it would appear that it has already done so. So that'll have to be replaced. It would also appear that there used to be some sort of foam padding here probably to stop it rattling around, which has disintegrated over time, and the whole thing's just kind of a rusty mess. So I'm going to give it a slight going over with sandpaper and spray it. This ballast resistor is riveted in place, and I don't have a drill to drill the rivets out, so it's stuck there for now. Stickers, you can get facsimiles of these. They're not exact reproductions, they're for a slightly different variant of motor from the MGB and Land Rovers and things that are worth more money than Triumph Dolomites. So they have reproduction stickers, but you can get the important ones. For now, I'm just going to clean around these and see if I can preserve them, because I can easily mask them off, even though they are kind of knackered, but you know, it's all part of the history. I would take this tube off, which is held in place with these screws all the way around. However, they're completely stuck, and whenever I try and take them out, I'll just round off the heads. So yeah, they're staying put, I'm afraid. I also took out the screen washer container, which is quite a nice piece. All I've done with this is clean it, really. I just scrubbed it with various scrubby things until it looked vaguely clean. Sadly, I didn't think to picture it before I cleaned it, but it was absolutely horrible, especially inside, which was full of mould. This piece of plastic tubing is kind of discoloured, but 40 odd years old, sod it, I'll be fine. So a quick look at what we're dealing with on this blower motor. As you can see, the whole thing is just absolutely covered in surface rust. So I've started taking it back to metal. Haven't decided if I want to keep these stickers yet, so I'm going around them at the moment. I can always go and remove them if I want. I can get replacements, but they're not identical to the ones that are on it. But also the ones that are on it are pretty tired. And once I paint it, it might look shit. Ballast resistor needs to come off, and this needs to be replaced, but I can't drill out those rivets yet. Using 80 grit sandpaper for this. Massive overkill. That's why the metalwork is so scored. But given that it's going to be sat in the engine bay and I'll give it liberal coats of primer, it should look decent when it's finished. And there's no doubt about it, it does make very short work of paint and surface rust, as you'd well hope. So yeah, basically that, but for ages. Ooh, it's the world's most half-assed sanding job. So yeah, I've been casually sanding this bloody thing now for weeks because I can only ever be arsed doing it for about 30 seconds and then I lose the will to live. But we're getting there. It doesn't need to be spectacular because it's a fucking heater blower motor, who cares. By the time it's got a few coats, a nice high build primer on it and some satin black, get off my camera strap, it'll look fine. Yeah, I've just been hand sanding it. It's quite interesting actually how once you start taking the paint away you can see the original marks of where it's been initially pressed into shape. I did take the stickers off in the end. I'll just put on repo ones. because it was annoying trying to sand around them. I've still got so much of this to do, and I just cannot be bothered. Do you like my test for my Triumph Acclaim touch-up paint? Cunningly did it inside the flat, so I painted my chair and my curtains. Well done me. Yes, this was filmed a long time after the last clips. I am now a young boy. You're probably asking yourself, that's all well and good, it's all, great you sanding down this heater blower motor, but what about the big structural holes in your car, the bit which is supposed to hold the subframe in? Well, have no fear, because plans are afoot. As you know, there's currently a worldwide pandemic. It is 2020, looking pretty much like the end of the world as we know it, which is great. But essentially, we can't go anywhere and do anything. Once lockdown regulations and guidelines start relaxing, there is an operation that is going to take place whereby the mighty Triumph Dolomite will be loaded onto a trailer and towed over to a workshop, still here in Glasgow, where we're gonna do all the bodywork. So front wings are gonna come off, nose panel's gonna come off, bumpers are gonna come off, engine's gonna come out, subframe's gonna come out down the way, out the bottom. With the subframe out, we will weld up the chassis legs and the inner wings and the front panels. We'll put in new headlight retainers. We'll weld up the big holes in the bottom of the wings. It might end up getting sills. It's all going to go back together. Once the car's back together, then the engine, the new freshly built engine, can be final assembled. Or something, I don't know the term. That can go in, and then we'll splash some paint on it, and it might actually be a usable vehicle. Imagine that. Imagine it's only been 2 years. Yeah, so that's the plan. Whether any of that will happen, who knows? Because since I poked the holes in the car, the plan has changed at least 3 times. I have at least acquired myself a welder, but it's a gasless MIG, or what is it, flux core welder, which is not the greatest, but I tend to have to work outside, so gas, wind, it doesn't work all that well. However, yeah, workshop space available, and that would make life so much easier than trying to weld up a car at the side of the road. So the goal is have all the work done properly, not have to touch the car for another 10 to 15 to 20 years depending on what sort of miles I do in it, which would be great because I have other cars that need to be fixed. I've got the Triumph Acclaim, which is really needs to come off the road for substantial welding work. However, I need a replacement daily car, which the Dolomite could maybe step in and take that mantle once the new engine has been run in. And I also have a Triumph Dolomite 1850, which has rotten floors and chassis legs and the boot and everything. But that'd be a pretty cool project. I'd quite like to get that back on the road as well. Well, we'll see. Anyway, that's the plan. It'll all be filmed for your pleasure. The next video, or well, maybe not the next video, but there's a video coming up featuring a whole other car that doesn't belong to me. But it's from 1971, and it is a British Leyland product, and I think you'll quite like it. And I'll probably have to overdub all the sound because it was really windy, and I don't have a mic. So, yeah, look forward to that. do the likes and the subscribes and the dislikes and the angry comments telling me how I'm doing everything wrong, because it's what YouTube is. Fire away. Bye for now. Bye.